Hey guys, my name is Impetuous Panda.
My name is Miguel, even though I'm also known as Mogwai.
You know me with Mogwai. We're kind of the European duo over there.
Hey, I'm Julian Patriot Carr.
My name is David Turley. I'm known to the internet as Freak.
I do believe Europe is the strongest region.
It's the Americas overall, as well as Oceania.
Southeast Asia and Asia in particular.
Every single player here absolutely deserves to be here.
America and Asia. You know, not trash talking here, but just saying that I think they're gonna have to, you know, they're gonna have to put in the work.
In general across the regions, and especially from Southeast Asia, Asia, the amount of diversity in the metagame's pretty awesome.
The metagames almost always evolve differently in different regions.
I see a lot of innovation from Asia. I think they're very creative over there, and they have amazing players there as well.
Even from the meta perspective, it's always been a little bit different to Europe and to North America, and they play different things, they test different things.
Lots of these players qualified with some pretty wild decks.
When you compare the Americas to sort of Europe in general, that even though these players all came from 4 different countries as well, their lineups are so similar.
So looking at the EU participants, we have 5 players that are all very big names. In this case, not really any surprises.
I think they have a player base that is the most efficient at like figuring out the meta and essentially finding the best lineup.
It definitely seems like in any given social circle, people have kind of congealed on roughly one strong set of lineups, or like one strong set of decks.
I would say if there's one like simple way to define like how each meta looks like in every region is, I see a lot of creativity in Asia, I see a lot of diversity in North America, and I see a lot of like refinement from Europe.
There's no amount of luck or chance in the world that could get you a spot in Worlds. It's 100% just skill and dedication.
That's the most exciting thing about this tournament for me. Just the fact that we're finally gonna see all these amazing names added together, and there's no walls in between, and it's just, we're gonna see who the best player actually is in the world, and that's super hype.
want to be. Right where I want to be. Never let go, never let go. Never let go, never let go. Never let go, never let go. Never let go, never let
Hey guys, my name is Impetuous Panda.
My name is Miguel, even though I'm also known as Mogwai.
You know me with Mogwai. We're kind of the European duo over there.
Hey, I'm Julian Patriotem Carr.
My name is David Turley. I'm known to the internet as Freak.
I do believe Europe is the strongest region.
It's the Americas overall, as well as Oceania.
Southeast Asia and Asia in particular.
Every single player here absolutely deserves to be here.
America and Asia. You know, not trash talking here, but just saying that I think they're gonna have to, they're gonna have to put in the work.
In general across the regions, and especially from Southeast Asia, Asia, the amount of diversity in the metagame's pretty awesome.
The metagames almost always evolve differently in different regions.
I see a lot of innovation from Asia. I think they're very creative over there, and they have amazing players there as well.
Even from the meta perspective, it's always been a little bit different to Europe and to North America, and they play different things, they test different things.
Lots of these players qualified with some pretty wild decks.
When you compare the Americas to sort of Europe in general, that even though these players all came from 4 different countries as well, their lineups are so similar.
So looking at the EU participants, we have 5 players that are all very big names. In this case, not really any surprises.
I think they have a player base that is the most efficient at figuring out the meta and essentially finding the best lineup.
It definitely seems like in any given social circle, people have kind of congealed on roughly one strong set of lineups, or like one strong set of decks.
I would say if there's one simple way to define how each meta looks like in every region is, I see a lot of creativity in Asia, I see a lot of diversity in North America, and I see a lot of refinement from Europe.
There's no amount of luck or chance in the world that could get you a spot in Worlds. It's 100% just skill and dedication.
That's the most exciting thing about this tournament for me. Just the fact that we're finally going to see all these amazing names added together, and there's no walls in between, and it's just, we're going to see who the best player actually is in the world, and that's super hype.
Players have been competing to be the best in their region. The top 16 have made it into the World Championship, in which they'll compete for the title of Legends of Runeterra World Champion. Those top 16 competitors from all over the world are going to battle it out for a piece of the $200,000 prize pool and a shot at becoming the Legends of Runeterra World Champion. The wait is over and the competitors are ready. So stay tuned here with us so you can be the first to find out who becomes the Legends of Runeterra World Champion. Hello everybody and welcome to the Legends of Runeterra World Championship. My name is Necra. I'm going to be your host for this weekend, but I am not alone. We have this incredible team of expert casters that are going to be bringing you through all of the action, and we're going to see them throughout the day. So let's go ahead and welcome them in so they can introduce themselves to you. Casanova, why don't you start?
Hey everybody, I'm Casanova. I'm excited to be back for day 2. I decided, when I used to be a pro, I was a bit superstitious about things. Red suit, 3 for 3 of the Americas made it to the top 8. Red suit again. Let's see if we can make it 6 for 6.
And I'm ready for a beautiful day of beautiful plays. I'm Amy the Amazonian, and I'm so excited for day 2 of Worlds.
Hello everyone, my name is Skarzig. I'm really happy to be back here for day 2. I think the first day we had some incredibly hype moments, but they were based around some tried and true decks. Day 2, opening things up for some spicier inclusion. Super excited for it.
Hello everyone, I'm Mogwai. I definitely agree with that. There is some spice today, and I'm very excited to see how the European players perform today. But I'm also rooting for Brazil. I do have a Brazilian flag in the back. I'm very international, actually, especially after NA's results yesterday.
When a Spaniard got through.
I'm sliding over. I've always been there. So yeah, really excited.
Hello guys, I'm Impetuous Panda, and talking about Americas, we have a Spanish-speaking American player from Chile, Xeloo, today, so I think we have some common ground there at least, but also some fan favorites from Europe. We have Alan and Shihu with 2 very spicy lineups, very spicy decks, so very excited for those matches.
I'm Freak. I'm just here to pressure Majin Bay into making it 3 for 3 from the US into the top 8. So just here to represent my country, and nothing else matters, obviously.
Hey guys, my name is Sean Hugenard, but I'm known on the internet as Swimithy Strimothy. And yeah, I mean, I just gotta say, it's it's funny how Mogwai and Panda, the two European casters, after all the the confidence yesterday, they're kind of like switching sides into the South American after seeing the performance. But today's a new day, and we're gonna see a lot of players. I can't wait to see how everyone performs.
Day 1 was awesome, and day 2 is going to be even better. We're going to see all of you just a little bit later, but we're sticking around with Cass and Amy to take over this match number 1 and talk about the format and the prizing in case you missed it all yesterday. So let's go ahead and talk about the format. We are in day 2 of the World Championship. We already sent 4 players to the final bracket that we will see on day 3. But it's time to cover groups C and D today. We're going to have more incredible players, excellent matches ahead. And Amy, why don't you talk a little bit more about how the format's going to work?
Of course. So if you were watching yesterday, the format today is going to be very similar, but with a different group of players. This is a round-robin format, which means that every person in each group plays against each other. In Group C, we've got Alan, Yamato, Xeloo, and Ragnarosich. And in Group D, we have Shihu, Odyssey, Kevin, and Majin Bay. It's going to be a great series of games. We've got 12 games total today, and whoever is in the top 2 from each group makes it into the top 8.
Yeah, we're going to have 4 more players joining that top 8 for today. They will then play a single elimination best of 3 bracket to determine our very first world champion. I mean, I can't wait to see who is going to join Cosimo and the rest of the crew from yesterday. What am I making it in? Real Key making it in. Aikado, all the Americas players in the Spaniard Cosimo. We're going to see who's going to join that crew in the debate.
So excited to get into the action, but that's not all that the players are vying for that single elimination bracket to see who the world champion is. There's a lot of prizing. We have $200,000 for all 16 players, everybody going home with something, but the world champion taking home $40,000. And let's go ahead and bring in that trophy. There's also a trophy that the world champion's going to be taking home, and it looks phenomenal. I know this is going to be a special take home for one of these players, but make sure you also tune in today and tomorrow to get some exclusive drops. You can get a card back and a player icon from watching the action today, and watching the finals, there is an exclusive fist bump emote. And we've got a lot of incredible action today. I mean, like, Cass, what are you thinking about what we're going to see today?
Well, we are here for spice. Yesterday was a little bit more vanilla, but today we've got a lot of crazy deck lists. There's the Darkness, there's a Heimerdinger, there's some Shell Folk. It's going to be all over the place. It's going to be wild. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be so much fun.
I'm so excited for the different decks that we have today. Yesterday, you saw a lot of what you might see in the ladder. You saw the meta picks, but we have a really diverse group of players here, which means we have a really diverse group of decks. And the way that they're going to match up against each other is sure to be spicy.
Well, before we get into the action today, let's get a little bit of a recap of what happened yesterday. Cass, why don't you start us off with some of the incredible plays that we got a chance to see. I mean, there was just so much action. I can't wait to pull up that recap so that we can show everybody what we missed.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday was so much fun. We had a lot of crazy plays. On your screen, you're going to see Aikado using the Spell Thief, stealing a Jinx Rocket to end the game in style. Aikado being able to pick up 2 wins early on and qualify in. His third match didn't even matter yesterday, but this one was a big, heartbreaking loss for Real Key. Bajatak able to find this concerted strike, sneaking his way through. There was a big storyline of this matchup where Real Key in an earlier match had mishit his spacebar and caused him to skip a turn that might have turned it around and found the win. And then Artify, who has been given the title of honorary Brazilian by the Brazilian community on Twitter in LOR, because him taking down Bajatak here was able to solidify Real Key's spot in the top 8. But Artify did fall the real key early on. And Badge Attack, we just saw, who ended up losing in that heartbreaking loss against Artify. Badge Attack had an amazing run throughout the tournament, was incredibly strong throughout. Now we've got the what am I reaction though. Amy, you saw this too, right? What am I?
This was one of my matches I got to see live.
Oh my
it
God.
was so great to see the live player reaction of, could they have it? What could they have? It's nothing. I win for that 3-0.
What am I tweeted out context of that clip? People were like, what is going on in your mind during this moment? And what he said was, he was in so much disbelief of the line that had occurred, because it was like Burblefish into Heavens Aligned, into Eclipse Dragon, into Destroyer, into finding the fact that your opponent had no answers to any of those things and getting the win. You couldn't believe what had just happened, and we saw the bewilderment on his face at the end of that game.
Oh, we're going to get some more player reactions. Let's pull up those players. Amy, you already got a chance to introduce them, but why don't you go over them again, particularly who you're looking out for today?
Today, my pick for who I'm rooting for is Majin Bay. Bay is Bay. We went over this yesterday, and I'm sticking with it. But Xeloo definitely gets the prize for spicy deck lineup. Also, there's a few other decks that I'm excited to see, but none more than a Heimerdinger Zoe list that I'm not sure I understand, but I can love and appreciate.
Look, I'm with you, Amy. You know, I gotta root for Bay a bit, but I'm also so excited to see the lineups from Shihu, Alan, and Yamato. They all have some spicier lists overall, but I also want to give a big shout out to Xeloo. He came in to the top 64 as one of only 5 LATAM representatives into that tournament, into the qualifiers, the regionals for the Americas, and he was able to come out of that in the top 16. He is the sole representative from Latin America representing Chile, and Xeloo is so incredibly good. This is a player I've followed for a long time. He's played in a lot of fight nights, he's played in a lot of open tournaments, always putting up phenomenal results. It was amazing to see how well he did in the seasonal, and then coming in to Worlds, having a chance to play in this top 16. I have high hopes for Xeloo.
I do as well.
So what I'm hearing is that we had stacked players yesterday, and we have stacked players today. So these are going to be some great matches for sure. But before we get into the action, let's hear what Alan has to say.
Nazywam się Mateusz AlanZQ Jasiński i jestem z Polski. Jestem bardzo podekscytowany, że się udało zakwalifikować do Worldsów. No nie ukrywam, że to jest tutaj jednak RNG najcięższym moim rywalem. Zdecydowanie mogę powiedzieć, że będzie RNG. Najbardziej skillowy region? No jak to który? Polska! Przeciwko innym regionom z całego świata. Mam nadzieję, że wszystko pójdzie gładko, fajnie. Będą fajne gry, będzie fajnie się to oglądało.
So excited to hear from one of our players that is going to be participating in the first match of the day. We are going to Group C to kick things off, and we're going to be kicking it off for game number 1. But Cass, why don't you go ahead and introduce the match, and I'm going to get out of here.
All right. Thank you, Necra. We'll see you in a bit, but it's going to be Xeloo versus AlanZQ. It is Chile versus Poland, and this is going to be an absolute banger, Amy. I know you've been looking forward to this match. I know you talked with both Alan and Xeloo leading up to this as well.
So Alan considers himself the underdog for this matchup because of the deck list selection. But I gotta say, both players are extremely good, and they've both practiced against each other's decks quite a bit. These players, unlike the ones yesterday, have actually had an extra day of practice to kind of run their rounds. They knew who their first opponents were going to be and get ready for today's match.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that this is a bit of a spicier lineup from Alan. He is running the Sivir Sean. That's a lot more expected. He's got the Draven Caitlyn and also Shellfolk Ezreal, but we're going to take a look at Chelo's lineup as well. We are looking at that Gangplank TF Ping City. Do have the Draven Scion and Zoe Nami, continuing the tradition of America's players bringing Zoe Nami, and it's been a great success for them so far.
It's really worked out so far for the Americas players to have this Zoe Nami list, because when it works so well. It has that comeback potential, and of course this Draven Scion list is a real beater. It has the win con right there in the champion, Scion able to end games so quickly.
Yeah, and I teased Alan's list a little bit, but we're going to go ahead and take a look at it now. We got the Sivir Akshan. We do have the Caitlyn Draven. What's that in the middle, Amy? That's Vi Ezreal with the Shell Folk. There's a lot of pranks going to be going on with this deck as well, and I'm so excited to be able to cast this straight away. This is one of the decks I've been looking forward to most in the tournament as a whole.
I will say, if you enjoy a good janky deck, you should try this deck for yourself, because it has an unusual interaction, because it turns out that when you choose from a card for the Curious Shellfolk, it includes when you choose from your opponent's cards. So when you prank their hand, you actually get a copy of the card discounted in your own hand. It is amazing. It allows you to kind of counterplay using your opponent's cards.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of the old NAB strategies, being able to steal away your opponent's cards, play them for cheaper. It can do really well against a myriad of decks because of this interaction. But Shellfolk does come online a little bit later than a lot of the NAB stuff used to, so you do have to be a little bit careful against those aggressive lists. However, this is running in PNZ and Bandlewood and has a good amount of removal to deal with that early game. So, Xeloo, AlanZQ, we see the bans, and we don't get to cast any Shellfolk, Amy. It's all gone. It's banned. Draven Scion's gone too. I know we were stoked. Hopefully we get to see it some later.
I think that Xeloo respects this deck and understands how good it is against his lineup, especially this Ping City. If your small removal and small damage gets taken from you, it gets used against you. And you need to keep your units alive in order to win the game, and even against just Vi herself, that can be very difficult. But AlanZQ still left with a powerful lineup. You have the Caitlyn Draven, you have the Sivir Akshan. Those are two beaters of a deck.
Yeah, I mean, the Caitlyn Draven or Caitlyn Ezreal, will kind of lump them in because for the most part, they're running the same cards nowadays, have been performing really well throughout the tournament. It felt like on both days, we saw this deck continually finding the victories when it needed to, and I think Alan's got to be happy that he has that as one of his options. I think that Sivir Demacia, or the Sivir Akshan deck, has also performed pretty well throughout the tournament. There's been a couple situations where it looks a little bit rough because it can't get off the ground as quickly as some of these other decks, but I still think that Alan's got to be feeling really good with his lineup, even with the Shellfolk being banned, his little trump card that he has. But Xeloo going to be queuing up Ping City to kick things off. This matchup, we've seen it a couple times already in Ping City. If they can get going early and often, it can get pretty tough for the Sivir Akshan, but if Sivir Akshan can match on board in the early game, they can start to take over with their more powerful units.
This Sivir Akshan build is running the Vicar Bruiser. That is the flexible spot in that deck. And I actually have talked to both players about how they feel about running that versus Screeching Dragon, and there seems to be a dominant feeling that the Bruiser is the right move, getting those lucky finds on strike. So we're going to see if it shows up in this game, and Xeloo already with an aggressive start, really putting the pings in Ping City.
Yeah, important note, Xeloo actually has the same lineup as Cosimo from yesterday. They independently decided that these were the three best decks. They have a lot of different tech cards, but Cosimo was able to make it to the top 8 yesterday. And I think Xeloo, seeing that, is probably feeling very good about their lineup decisions, as we do have these stone stackers going in, but that is going to be a sharp sight, allowing Alan to find a bit of a better trade the combat trick for the unit, and continue to keep up your board presence. Allow this Fleet Feather Tracker to potentially pick up the kill on the Crackshot Corsair next turn.
That's a big birdie, and it's already doing work. The Crackshot Corsair, though, is just a 1-2, so once the Fleet Feather Tracker does have Challenger, it is likely to be gone. And we actually see the vulnerable given here by Merciless Hunter.
Yeah, this still keeps up pressure where the Fleet Feather Tracker actually doesn't have to trade into this Crackshot Corsair. You can just value trade with the Merciless Hunter, drop it both to a 4-1. The scary thing about this is it's incredibly vulnerable to things like Make It Rain or Pokey Stick, or just in general. This is called Ping City for a reason. This deck has so many different pings: Parlay, Make It Rain, Pokey Stick. It's all over the place, so it gets a little bit tough to actually allow both of your units to drop down to 1. So instead, Alan's going to cash in the 4 damage, does not want to allow the opportunity to get blown out by a Make It Rain.
And there's a second Merciless Hunter in hand now for Alan. We're seeing more than a few gifts for Renekton this morning, which makes me very happy. Merciless Hunter is one of my favorite cards. Even though she's now a 4-2 instead of a 4-3, she does work.
Yeah, I think one of the big things about the nerf in this specific matchup that is going to potentially be relevant is Double Up is being run as a 2 of. This does 2 damage to a unit in order to do 4 damage to the face if it kills the unit. Now, Merciless Hunter being a 4-2, having only that 2 toughness, makes it a vulnerable target to Double Up, and potential opportunity and potential liability for Alan, and Xeloo being able to land those double ups through these Merciless Hunters.
And right now there is double up in hand for Xeloo, which is quite nice to remove these Merciless Hunters and essentially decimate at fast speed.
Yeah, they are fast speed decimates, but they are conditional, and, well, the condition potentially easy to be met if there are these 2 toughness units on board, 2 or less toughness. And the Lecturing Yordle, which we were talking about a lot behind the scenes as being kind of an MVP of this deck yesterday, continually pumping out all that damage. We already see 2 darts in hand. We're going to start getting those mushrooms through. I wonder if Xeloo is just going to remove one of these Merciless Hunters, or if he will try and set up a amazing Make It Rain top deck. He is just going to play the safer route, take out one of these Merciless Hunters.
With the Twisted Fate in hand, you do have the potential to get 1 damage on every unit your opponent has. But knowing how many tricks there are in the Akshan Sivir deck, things like Shape Stone that can give 1 additional health, it does make sense to play against it. Sharpsight as well. You can't rely on a single damage to remove things, which is difficult for Ping City over here, but really did just get a lot of damage in, removing one of those hunters and planting mushrooms in the deck. I think that Lecturing Yordle was one of those cards that people looked at and kind of dismissed, like, oh, it's a 3-5, it's not winning a lot of trades, but it can block fearsome units, it can just generate its own removal, and sometimes, like this turn we just saw, if it comes into play and it gets to attack, you're getting 2 of those in a single turn, and you would be surprised at how many times a single mushroom means life or death. Those puff caps are serious business.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing the Lecturing Yordles generating on average at least 2 of the darts, which is going to be 2 damage plus 6 shrooms. Yeah, it costs a little extra mana, but still, this card has been great. It has what we like to call in the business a big butt with 5 toughness in order to actually block a lot of units. Unfortunately, Sivir is a horrible lineup for the Lecturing Yordle if he does have vulnerable, but in general, most things he's able to contest with and block, and as you mentioned before, he can block fearsome, which is impactful as well. It's just been such a fantastic card in the deck, and I think we'll continue to see that card be a difference maker in these Ping City lists.
And Alan already getting in a lot of early damage. It looks like that Sivir is very closely approaching level up. And there's also an Akshan in hand, Chargers, and Bright Steel Protectors to really fill this board with a strong lineup. Now, Xeloo does have those double ups, that removal, does have the TFs, but once one TF is in play, the other one just becomes card filter.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see just a red card at this point. Try and pop the Spell Shield, remove the 1-drop. It feels relatively okay. It's not a fantastic red card, but popping the Spell Shield can be nice, and setting up a potential for a double up to kill off the Sivir is another opportunity. We do end up just seeing the attack with the Tenor of Terror is a relatively safe attack, because you know Sivir doesn't want to drop down to 1 health, even though she has the Spell Shield, and you're basically setting yourself up to either get the kill on the 1-drop for free in a value trade, plus still get the impact damage, or you're going to get through a nice little chunk. And we see 4 damage go through for Xeloo, which he's only got to get through 11 more, and he does have these double ups. There's a lot of damage in hand ready to go if Xeloo can make it work.
The Absolver able to maybe save a unit against a double up, which does deny the face damage, but Alan is at 11 Nexus health, which is not quite scary territory, but it's getting there.
Yeah, I mean, It's scary considering the fact that we know there's 2 double ups, right? It's like,
Yes, we have
he's
the
at
knowledge that there's
3?
essentially fast
Yeah.
decimates at the ready for whenever Alan just taps out. No more mana, no more problems. And here we're gonna see the pop of the spell shield on the Sivir, taking out the 2-1 and getting a little damage on Akshan, which means that the tricks are less likely to be able to save him.
Yeah, the tricks are like Shapestone, Absolver. They all give 1 toughness, so being at 1 health means they will not protect against the double up. We do have things like single combat. There's other ways for Alan to work through it, or he can play multiple combat tricks if he has them. But in general, Xeloo, if he can find a way to get these double ups through, I'm pretty certain he just wins, because that's 8 damage. Alan only has 10 left, and there's impact units, Corsairs, Pokesticks. There's other ways. So if Xeloo can find a way to sneak these double ups in, he's taking this game. The problem is Alan knows that double up is in this deck. He knows that is a big thing he has to watch out for when he's at 10 health. I guarantee Alan is thinking about this and considering how he's going to play around double ups for the rest of this game.
Yeah, Alan, of course, is playing a deck that operates at burst and fast speed. You have even some one-of tricks like Riposte. Riposte is in this build, which is a really nice way to deny those single burn spells. But we are seeing the aggressive play, getting the charger out here and getting ready to swing in for an awful lot of damage.
Yeah, and this should be the Sivir level up, I imagine, which is going to make it even tougher for Xeloo to actually find blocks that are comfortable. You can at least play the TF put the TF to the line of fire so that he can play a new TF. I think, or another red card can be really nice. You get that extra ping to the face, but also set this board up, soften it up to make it even harder for Alan to play around your potential future double ups. I know that's all that is on Xeloo's mind is, I have to get these double ups through. I have the damage. It's all here. I have the cards. I have the damage. But how am I going to make it so Alan cannot interrupt my casts?
Yeah, and protecting the Tenor of Terror and the Base of Burden is definitely on Xeloo's mind, because those 2 cards are how you get that unavoidable damage in. And
Yeah,
I did
impact
remember,
has been insane.
I was listening to Xeloo's stream a few nights ago, and he actually mentioned that he just loves Bilgewater overall, so I imagine that this deck is solidly in his comfort zone. You've got the TF Gangplank. They've been staples of different decks across the last few years. And of course, you've got Crackshot Corsair, a big part of Pirate Aggro and Dreadway Deckhand, really just adding in these new cards from Bandle City, and of course the new Mirai Wardens to clog up the board.
Yeah, and we just saw Xeloo hovering over a double up. He might try and throw this at the 5-2. Alan does have a response. Instead, it goes to the 3-2. The Ephemeral is going to die anyway, so going for the Bright Steel Protector, trying to mop up the board, but single combat is just a fantastic answer. Try and get rid of one of these impact units instead and protect yourself from the damage.
Yeah, that's rough because it denies the 4 damage to the Nexus, and it's the Base of Burden. That was going to be up to 4 damage coming through next turn that now just doesn't have to be worried about. And here comes the Sivir level up. She gets even stronger the next time she's attacking, and she's going to transfer all of her various abilities to her friends.
Yeah, I wonder if Xeloo just goes for something like a gold card to try and push additional damage. Lecturing Yordle is a phenomenal draw, one of the best you can. It's just going to continue to generate value, find opportunities for Xeloo to push more damage. I wonder if we'll see something like just Lecturing Yordle and then hold up the mana for potential spell casts, or if we'll actually see the TF come down with the gold card to try and go more all in on this attack. Get as much damage around the sides as possible, and just play 1 Poison Dart this turn, set up to play your fast spells on the defensive turn, and try and find the rest of this damage.
Xeloo has a tough decision here. There's just enough mana for that double up, but no, instead we're going to see the gold card here hitting the Sivir, stunning her. She can't block. She's also now damaged, putting her in the range of a lot of Xeloo's removal. And of course, another blocker, the Fleet Feather Tracker, just a paltry 2-1. And Akshan's really not that good at blocking.
It's so good. This is such a great line from Xeloo because he's able to go wide. He knows at most, Alan probably has 1 unit because he's been hand reading and this Absolver has been in hand for a very long time. If it was a unit, Xeloo would have expected it would have been played on one of these turns that Alan had a lot more mana. he's like, okay, at best, he's probably top decking one thing. I can go 4 wide, stun one blocker. There's only one blocker available. And if you didn't top deck another one, you're dead anyway. Unfortunately for Alan, his blocker, like you said, a paltry 2-1, is just going to get removed by this dart. And Xeloo is going to be able to push so much damage with 2 fast spells that deal face damage as his backup going into the defensive turn. This is a fantastic position.
It's going to be at least one more turn until that Warlord's Palace is correct too. So we're waiting right here. Alan really does not have a lot of choices coming into this combat. So everybody is swinging in here. There's 1 unstoppable damage, a second from the Tenor of Terror. You've also got, there's going to be another poison dart generated, but it can't be cast this turn. And of course, the quick attack from TF making him an awful block target. So Alan is at 3, and in
Mushrooms?
this matchup, that is not where you want to be. He is almost
Mushrooms?
certainly dead.
Okay, if we draw, still the risk of more mushrooms. He goes Sandstone Charger instead. Absolver, he's just going to try and overwhelm. He's giving overwhelm to both. He can go through as concerted to kill a unit that's in front. Wait, Alan should be
did
able to
he
find this.
get
Wait,
there?
no, the double up. The double up. Pokey stick plus double up. It's enough.
Pokestep double up is, like, right now, Alan does not have a way to deny that. And that
can't
goes
stop it.
straight through to face.
Alan found a line to push enough damage through, but Xeloo has the fast spells in hand. He gets the pokey stick for 1, the double up does 2, and it does 4 to the face. Xeloo is going to take this game 1 as long as he does not mess up the order. Take your time, Xeloo. Put it together. You've got the win. You have it in the bag, and you don't have another option because no matter what this card is from Alan, if it beats this 2-card combo, you're not winning anyway. We see him
And he's got
cast
the
it.
order right. The pokey stick resolves first, deals the single damage, which pushes through the kill on Sivir with the double up. That's 4 straight to the face. Alan, what can you do? Concerted Strike doesn't let you hit your own units.
No, he doesn't have anything. It's just going to be the double up taking the victory. We were talking about how key those double ups were going to be for Xeloo. And he finds 1 to go through and get that face damage. Xeloo going to take game 1, but Alan made that one close. He made that one real tight at the end.
I love it when it comes down to both players threatening lethal at each other at the exact same moment. It came down to combat. The open swing with the tricks, with the Absolver. After the champ level up, you had the Warlord's Palace getting the Charger, going in for everything, and yet it wasn't enough.
Is it not quite enough? And Xeloo will walk away with 1 game down. And now Zoe Nami, which has been doing so much work for the Americas and for Cosimo yesterday. It is what it comes down to. 2 chances, and Xeloo already found double
Did you
trouble
see
in
that
Nami
hand?
in that opening hand.
Did you see that snap
I
keep right
sure
there?
did. That was an insane mull from Xeloo. We'll see it in a moment, but that is
There's the
such a
double up.
phenomenal
There's
hand.
the Nami. You have protective spells as well. You've got shields and Pale Cascades, a little bit of heals too.
You have
Gotta
gifts.
feel
You got your
good.
Sparkle Fly. You've got your Double Trouble to set things up. I mean, this is everything you could want for the Nami deck.
We'll see how the game plays out. So Alan swinging in for 2, starting off this game with a Treasure Seeker.
There we go. I mean, this hand is going to play itself a little bit at the start here from Xeloo. We'll see the Double Trouble. You can bank again, and the next turn you can set up the Nami. And we also have the ability to get that Sparkle Fly out, tutor it with the Crescendum.
And it feels like
Oh,
Alan has a
fleeting
hand.
burble. Oh, the Pool Shark.
gosh, that's
the
a
Pool
fleeting
Shark pulled
burble.
it through, yeah. Pool Shark normally
Right now,
not a bad
Alan,
hit.
though, has a pretty big hand here as far as adding in damage while already in combat. If he chooses to swing in, he has the ability to really load up this Sivir, especially if she goes unblocked, and get through the early hits. But Xeloo with that double up did get a kind of awkward hit with that burble fish.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
finding the Pool Shark and then it hits the Burble, but end of the day, I think Xeloo's probably feeling okay, considering that the hand is just so insane. I mean, he has the crescendum, he has the ability to continue to just
He can
buff up
afford
his
to
units and
lose.
protect them. One burble
He
is
can
not
afford
going to be the end
lose
of the
one
world.
burble.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, oh, did you see that Zoe showed up? She was like, "You guys are having a party? I'm invited to."
Yeah, and I think it's nice because it's going to continue to generate spells for Xeloo to just play, just finding the super cool star charts. Yeah, you have to be a little concerned about sharp sights taking her out, but if a sharp sight kills your Zoe, I think you're actually okay with that. Trading that, 1 mana elusive for a sharp sight and then protecting your future elusives down the line. Especially because the Sparkle Fly is going to be the one you really want to be cranking up. It allows you to just take so much more damage because you can just keep healing everything back up. See what Xeloo wants to do if he cashes in some of these 1-drops to try and prevent some damage. It's going to be a
Looks like
guiding
we're gonna
touch
see
at
the
first.
1-drops get buffed up, and because these are both 1 mana 1/2s, had to cast that first before getting any blockers in because it's kind of random where the buff ends up. And we're seeing the 3/3 trading with a 3/3 and a 1/2 for a 2/1. That's very nice there. We're gonna see a couple more tricks though, trying to keep things alive, get that palace tick down to 0.
I wonder if we just pale to try and clear the board a little bit. I know you want to be holding most of these spells for once you have the elusive on board, but I think trying to slow down Alan's aggression makes a lot of sense. And we do see the Pale Cascade come out. This also keeps the Pool Shark alive, so you get more blockers. And it ends up forcing Alan to go for even more combat tricks, expending more of his hand. I think Xeloo is pretty happy with that in general, and he ended up picking a line him up, so he's still going to have a way to deal with this board continually throughout. Finds the Shelly on top of that.
Shelly.
We'll see if he even needs that considering this hand, but there is still the second real champion in this deck getting picked up.
And Ala did get a concerted strike here, which does threaten the Nami. 8 damage is definitely enough to
she's
kill
dead.
her. And she's very, very dead. But here comes Sparklefly.
Yeah, and I guess that does mean that Xeloo will need this second champion of Fleet Admiral Shelly to buff up this board. But he is going to at least go ahead and get a super cool star chart and heal up for 1 from the Sparklefly, but he does need to find a way to start getting those buffs rolling. The Nami did not get to buff up an elusive, did not get to do her job, so it will be up to Shelly.
Shelly, the poor man's Nami. 2 underwater beasts. And here is a Sandstone Charger, an ephemeral unit going to swing in. Alan really just looking to clear out the board, force blocks here, and get the damage in. And once Sivir levels up, those Absolvers in hand get even better, allowing that damage to become overwhelm damage.
Yeah, I mean, getting that overwhelm onto Sivir and passing it along to the rest of the board, especially when you start getting some of these bigger units, is so huge. And I think just Alan trying to force the issue with the Sivir level up as fast as possible, trying to
I think the
set up
Sivir
to end
is
the
going
game.
to level up during this attack.
Yes, she should. This combat should lead to her level up, and then if Alan can start to fill up the board again or get more of these Sandstone Chargers with Overwhelm, he's starting to put a lot of threat to find the finish. Star chart. There's an Equinox. Charger and Trickster. Elusives are always nice. Not really a ton of things in this list to silence that are followers. You want to be silencing things like Sivir, of course, but she will then be able to buff everything up. So silencing a follower ends up not doing that much since they get the keywords from Sivir afterwards. See if it's
I think as
just
far
a
as
cheap blocker.
goes,
Yeah.
Charger's a good choice.
Okay,
Looks
gonna
like
be
they're
Trickster.
going for the Trickster, going to get the 3/3 elusive otter in hand. Maybe not play it this turn, maybe hold on to it as an elusive attacker next turn. And of course, Alan is holding on to a sharp sight, so any of these elusives have the potential to be stopped or be single combated. But here we go, Alan swinging in with all 3 units, getting Sivir at the front of the line.
Wait a minute.
Trying to set up the blocks. There is 4 mana left for combat tricks and 13 damage being pushed right now. Blockers available for Xeloo. I'm wondering when this Sivir is going to level up. if it's on our first attack or if it's after the full combat. Okay, it's after the Waking
It's
Sands.
halfway in.
Yep. So it will be the next attack that we actually have to start worrying about these Absolvers giving overwhelm to the entire board. So Xeloo has a little bit more time.
But Alan's next attack in is going to be a brutal one, especially because the Sivir still has her spell shield. She is very difficult to stop outside of combat.
Yeah, the Sivir is going to be, I would say, impossible for Xeloo to stop. It's about trying to heal back up and try and end the game himself at this point. And because of the Sivir and the Absolver combo and being able to give overwhelm to the entire board, Xeloo needs to find a way to buff this Sparklefly up to heal a lot. Being at 8 is going to be really difficult to find the victory. And that's a rally ripped off the top.
There's a rally, and that rally is special because it's actually going to target Alan's units and get the Palace cracked, which means a Sandstone Charger as well.
Yep, we're going to get a Charger and the Absolver. It's going to be full overwhelm board. So unless Xeloo can try and go for an aggressive play of his own, Alan is going to have way too much damage coming through.
An attack here does give Xeloo the opportunity to cast at least 2 spells, triggering Shelly and buffing up this board, but there is a Sharp Sight.
There's a Sharp Sight for the block. We're going to see the Spell Thief as the first spell just goes to something cheap. See the options, found a rally himself. I wonder what the pick ends up being. Is it just a Shapestone because it's a cheap spell, a cheap buff that you can play to try and get more healing? As much as I love the concept of rally, I think in this position, I don't think we can take it. You just need to find as much healing. You just saw your opponent rally. It's a leveled Sivir on board. You know he's got minimum a Charger, and you have to expect the worst. Like, what combat tricks does he have? You have to assume, am I dead here? That is the question Xeloo has to have in his mind is, am I dead? Do I have to find a way to heal up, survive, buff my units to make it so that I'm not dead to whatever attack Alan is putting forth with this 6 mana he has remaining?
Yeah, the amount of healing from even a buffed Sparklefly here is not going to be that much. And it gets very, very hard with Xeloo not having any options to cast 4 spells this turn that I see.
He can with line him up, but that's only if he
With
gets
the
the
lineup,
priority.
that's true. The line him up
He
does
takes rally.
give
He takes rally instead.
potential. Picking the rally and going for the swing here.
Yeah, it could have worked if he took Shape Stone. You could play Shape Stone and then line him up, knock him down, and that would be 4
That would
total
be 4
spells.
spells. You're right. Yep.
But that's the only way he could have done it. Now we see the barrier with the Sharp Sight.
Oof.
Sparklefly stuck there, not going to be able to heal up. So it's going to
Not
be
having a
0 points of
Sparklefly.
healing.
Also rough. Yeah, this is... Yeah, you're getting through 7 damage, but Alan's at 18. Adding
Is the
another
start
2
turn?
damage in from the Shelly buff, but still no
Moonsilver?
healing. Moonsilver, though, that
can play
does
2 more.
enable another spell to be cast. Well, 2 spells.
I think... Huh. This is so rough because you can't even play for the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto the Sandstone Charger because it's at focus speed that it gets played. So it can be played and attack at the same time. You can't play the slow spell in response. We've got a lot of damage coming through, but it's not enough to kill. No lifesteal.
Now it is 11 damage on 18, bringing Alan down to 7, but 7's not dead. But I do think that getting those buffs onto the Trickster is pretty big, because having 7 toughness against what you assume is going to be overwhelm is important.
Yeah, I think Xeloo has put enough HP on the board that he's not going to die, but I think he has to lose his whole board. We're going to see how this plays out, because there's a lot more math involved. I'm thinking about it. It lines up against the Sivir. That's going to be 1 damage going through. We'll have to see it. He lines up blockers first, and then we'll get those Absolvers.
But we need to
still
put
dead
the
on board.
second part of the Absolver onto Sivir to get the overwhelm across the board.
Still, he's alive on board from here, but he does realize there's likely combat tricks with 4 mana.
Very smartly getting all the blockers on everybody here. Xeloo knows he has to lose all these units, and I'm sure he's not happy about it, but it comes down to surviving. So we're going to see the first part of the Absolver put on
okay.
our right unit, and then the Overwhelm on Sivir, so it spreads across the board. Is that still lethal?
7. It's 7.
Oh,
it's not lethal.
One short.
It's 1 shy, and there is an elusive for Xeloo with the Zoe, but he has to deal 7 damage, and there's an open attack available for Alan. Guiding Touch. That's some HP. Oh, there's another Absolver, though. Alan should just have it. He's got the Overwhelm available, no matter the blocks.
Hello,
Having the
hello,
extra
Shelly.
Absolver.
You're not going to save him? Can check the Pale Cascade to look for anything
No,
else.
it's not enough.
No,
There we
that's
go.
game.
Alan finds it. The 2 Absolvers would have been able to beat pretty much anything Xeloo was able to put down. Couldn't
And
quite
Alan
find
getting
enough
a
damage.
win?
No lifesteal being so important, and Alan picks up that win on Sivir.
So now it's down to the wire. They each have 1 game, and they know what deck is going to be played here. We have Zoe Nami again up against Draven Caitlyn.
As Zoe Nami, Draven Caitlyn. Zoe Nami has been so strong for the Americas representatives, but Draven Caitlyn, we talked about it earlier, this is a deck that has been consistent. One of the top performing lists as a whole. Both of these players, normally I expect, would feel confident playing these respective decks, but it is going up against another powerful deck on each side. Both hands looking good already. Double Trouble Nami for Xeloo. Draven and Lost Soul in the opener for Alan. It's exactly what you want to see on both sides. See if they actually replace any of these cards. Going through them all. You do just see a lot of keeps. Tri-Beam picked up for Alan. He's got a good setup for it with the Draven. Just going to be playing a lot of these 3 costs. Double block. Not great yet, but if he does find some ways to enable them, it's good. And Caitlyn is a way to do that. You can
Speaking
get
of
those flash bomb
doubles,
tracks in.
Double Nami and the Double Trouble. Xeloo definitely on the theme of 2s here. But Alan, yeah, the flocks aren't as good when so many of the units, especially early on, are just 1-1s, 2-1s, 1-2s. The flock is not going to do very much against them, but they can always be discard fodder for these pieces in the deck.
All right, hitting an elusive off of the Double Trouble. Going to be nice for setting up your Nami early on. Just having a target to buff up, get very aggressive. Ended up seeing the Sump Dredger as the turn 3 play for Alan to set up this Twin Blade Revenant. Right out the gates, you want to have this Challenger to threaten a Nami getting played.
And of course, getting that good Lost Soul value. The 4/3 Challenger that infinitely loops with itself. I swear, this card is such an all-star.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, it's one of the most, I think Pastry and I were talking about this yesterday, where it's one of the most represented cards, if not the most represented card in the tournament, because there's multiple deck archetypes that are just playing 3 Lost Soul and playing around this Lost Soul Twin Blade Revenant infinite cycle that it has, and it's just been so good. I mean, all the Draven Scions are running it, all the Draven Ezreals, all the Draven Caitlyns, and there's so many of those decks in this event. We just see Lost Soul dominating, and right here, Xeloo, what do you do against this? It's a 4/3 Challenger. You can't play your Sparklefly because it dies. You can't play your Nami because it dies. And Alan can just keep passing and eat your mana up this turn to gain a massive tempo advantage.
And
There
there
it
we go.
is.
We saw a bunch of mana burned for Xeloo, and that is also rough because it does lean away from a lot of the spell-based game plan. But looking at that Chip, I'm loving him, and I want to see him win this game. I want to see Chip as the MVP here.
We'll see if Chip ends up eating a bunch of buffs, but another Crescendum, or this first Crescendum to be played. Sparklefly going to go down to the board. But Nami not being committed prior to the spellcast. So hanging
No buff.
on to the Nami. Waiting for it's kind of a timing attack at this point because you know there's so much removal. So Xeloo is waiting for the right opportunity to play Nami, play a bunch of spells, and then go for the win on 1 or 2 turns. Pull on the Sparklefly.
Yeah, let Sparklefly live, understandable. But not swinging in with the Sump Dredger, keeping that 4/3 back.
So the attack is down. Xeloo may look to start to develop a little bit more.
And Alan also has the option of getting out Draven or Caitlyn here, even after using up a couple other spells. So here comes Sparklefly. There's still enough mana for Nami, and I think Alan wants to make sure that this Thermo Beam can hit the Nami. And even if it doesn't kill her, the follow-up with a Flock is just fine.
Yeah, trying to set up this beam to either cost 3 mana or to kill the Nami, I think are important for Alan. We could see him go double champion Thermo this turn and just continue to crank this Tri-Beam. I mean, it would be already at 5 damage at that point, which is a huge tempo swing at any point in this game. And I think Alan is just going to continue to crank this up since he has so many great options, and developing both of his champions is just going to be a strong play in general.
I also want to mention that Alan has been going already for quite a few hours today. Xeloo, I believe, in the same time zone or a similar time zone to me. It's pretty early on for him. He woke up, he starts playing the games, but Alan's actually already streamed for 5 hours this morning. Took an hour off before this broadcast begun. He's warmed up. He's ready to go. And he's burning up that Tri-Beam, getting it bigger and bigger with all these 3-cost champs. So here comes the Crescendum, getting another Sparklefly. And it's Draven time.
Yeah, there we go. I mean, this is, I think, exactly how I was talking about it for Alan. We might see the 3-mana beam as well. I'm not sure if he wants to tap out completely, but the 3-mana beam does allow this Tri-Beam to become, 5 damage. He's going to continue to buff it up. He has a lot more 3 costs as well. He can keep letting it get bigger and bigger, and potentially it can deal with a big buffed elusive that Nami buffs up, because it's just going to be such a high damage removal spell for 5 mana. And yeah, there it is, the 3-mana Thermo
Beam on Sparklefly.
Okay. So exactly as I was talking about, he's just trying to crank up this Tri-Beam as much as possible. Goes for the 2 3-mana champions into the 3-mana Thermo. Clears away another elusive. But Nami, importantly, is sticking on the board for Xeloo for a turn, and he has a good amount of card generation, card draw. He can try and go off a bit on this turn.
So Xeloo really with the burst party
Shelly
here, even getting down a Shelly, going to say, well, you know what? I'm going to get buffs from both here. We see a paralyzing bite on Shelly, going to set it up for the Ravenous Flock.
Yeah, Tri-Beam at 6 as well. It's going to be a way to remove pretty much anything that Xeloo puts forward, but not enough mana for Alan to play it on this turn. Only the Flocks and the Scorched Earths, and actually not going to have a way to enable these cards in hand. The elusives are going to come through on this attack, so however much Xeloo is capable of buffing this turn, that much damage is going to come through to Alan. I don't think he's in threat of dying, because it is just 2 elusives and they have no buffs. There's only 4 mana, but the fact is
we are
it's still a
see the
scary
dodge
spot.
Here. Have to buff up Chip to make sure that the permanent buff from Nami doesn't go on him. Chip's just like, please love me. Please play a landmark. I'm so small.
Okay, block on Shelly. We'll see Xeloo play something in reaction to at least get the buff, I imagine. So either this Jettison or Spell Thief. I mean, it can be any of these cards to get the second spellcast.
You know, we've seen Nami go through a lot. She has peeked into the void. And here she's going to use her aquatic magic to steal the Thermo Beam or the Flock. I
Okay,
think the Thermo
Thermo's
Beam is a
really
great
good.
flex pick. But I think knowing post-combat that something's going to be damaged, the Flock is also not a bad choice. But I love the Thermo Beam as a flexible follow-up here for Xeloo.
Oh, I love the Thermal because he can play Jettison plus the Thermal Beam now. He can get 2 more buffs out. He can play a 0-mana Thermo just to get the Nami buff.
Cast
and
it
just
for
push
0.
more damage. All right, we're just going to see the swing in. Instead, it's going to be 11 damage.
I was gonna say, if
And-
Chip doesn't swing in, I would be a little worried.
The way that played out is so funny, too, because Xeloo sends 3 and then waits and then puts Chip in, and Chip has the voice line, what about me? Come on. Put him in. Get him in there.
Chip is actually the best character in the game. Waiting for Chip to be a playable champ in Runeterra and League of Legends. Riot, are you listening? I'm waiting.
Okay, so we do get the Jettison to buff the Burble a little bit more. Get
The
2
purple
more damage in.
grows. That's quite a bit of elusive damage. Ooh, 13 coming through and getting Alan down to 6.
Yeah, Alan has a very threatening board of his own, and he does pick up some more removal as a way to get the Lost Soul down. He's got some good options to try and come back on this board, but there are a lot of elusives left. 3 to be exact, and only 6 health. There's no healing in Draven Caitlyn. This deck does not heal. So this 6 is the last 6 life points that Alan is going to have, and Xeloo just has to keep 1 elusive alive that's strong enough to push that through. There is the Get Excited, discarding the Lost Soul. You can take out the Burble, play the Twin Blade Revenant to follow up. It's a way to clear multiple of these elusives, but I expect Xeloo will just play Combat Trick. He'll play the Pale Cascade. We'll just see the Gifts from Beyond to enable the Nightfall active.
Gotta draw that card. So Gifts from Beyond, getting to select from the moon weapons, followed by
Gravitum!
Pale Cascade.
Gravitum, he picked Gravitum! This
For
is
the
really cool.
stun.
Yeah, he knows that there's a Twin Blade Revenant coming, and it's going to try and clear away one of his elusives. So if he just Gravitums on it instead, he's not going to have that challenge that he's worried about.
And Xeloo still at 20 after the heal from the Sparklefly last turn.
Xeloo is navigating this very well, just trying to continue to play reactive to whatever Alan does. Tried to set himself up to just get this last 6 points of damage through, but this is a big Tri-Beam. How are you going to answer this one, Xeloo? Oh my god, it's a Shark Tamer.
Through and gets the Shark Bait.
Shark Tamer's going to give an additional 4-2 Overwhelm attacker this turn. There's going to be so much damage coming through. Xeloo will have to put up some level of blocking. That's a great hit off of Tri-Beam.
It really is.
Shark
yeah,
Tamer's a
especially
very good
when you
7.
really need to get wide pressure, and when 4 is a very good sweet spot against your opponent. Getting that 4 damage through guarantees that things are going to be damaged to follow up with something like a Flock or Scorched Earth.
There's a Gravitum onto the Shark Tamer. Gonna be another spell cast. Try and buff up more, but there's a Flock. Trying to go on the Burble. I think, is Burble at 4 max health or 3? Is this Guiding Touch gonna protect it?
It would have to be 4 because it's always going to have...
Oh no, it's 3 because it's by 2s.
Oh, no, it's 3 because of it was one of them was the Nami buff and one of them was the Pale Cascade.
Wait, okay. He lets it through. I'm trying to remember what all the buffs it had were. There was the Nami buff. I think there was a Shelly buff and then a Pale Cascade, so it was probably 4. I don't know. It's very tough.
I think it was 4, and I think that Xeloo was probably going to use the heal if it was necessary there.
Yeah, if he could have capped out the HP, I bet he would have used that Guiding Touch. Now there's an attack coming through. Spinning Axe already. It's a lot of damage.
Xeloo can just choose not to block.
He could go down to 6. He has a heal in hand as well.
He's got a heal, and he has an elusive finisher.
Yeah, he lets it through. You're so right, Andy. This is definitely the right decision from Xeloo to let it through. Now, Alan, with the Scorched Earth in hand right now, is praying that a Flash Bomb trap hits this elusive, but we know that Xeloo has the Guiding Touch.
There's another Tri-Beam in hand, but Tri-Beam is slow. And of course, you have that odd situation where, like,
can he top deck another Get Excited?
Oh,
Oro Cannon. It hits the elusive. Alan has hope, but the Guiding Touch is there for Xeloo.
And going straight into the attacks. I think that the Guiding Touch is going to be the real winner here. And I mean, there's also an ebb and flow, which is kind of fun from Nami.
Alan can play the Get Excited in response. So he can play this, then the Guiding Touch comes through. And then you can Get Excited in response at the top of the stack.
It's going to get there. It's all about the draw.
And Xeloo can't stop this. Oro Cannon. Get excited on top of the stack. Xeloo can't do anything about that. Unless he had a Bastion or something like that in his deck, but he doesn't.
He doesn't know. This 10-6 about to get scorched. I want to say that this Scorched Earth is only a 2 of in the list. It's kind of an alternative to the Ravenous Flocks. It gets you a bit more guaranteed of a kill, especially on the large units, things like Trundles that you might just get 1 or 2 damage on. But that is so massive. Xeloo, you can see his face is in his hands. He is disappointed by the showing there.
Yeah, I mean, it was exactly what Alan needed. Some form of damage, some with the Scorched Earth. It had to be with the Scorched Earth. And it had to be the trap connecting.
There were only, I think, 6 traps in the deck.
Everything had to go right. Everything had to go right for Alan there. It had to be the trap. Into the Scorched Earth. Xeloo had the heal and he needed a piece of damage to remove. But has Xeloo cleared enough away that the Ebb and Flow can keep him alive another turn as well? Because the Double Trouble provided blockers and Alan has no more cards. But this Shark Tamer is going to create more, and that is an Arachnoid Sentry. He can put forth a wider board and reduce the amount of blockers. Xeloo with the Spell Thief, though. Is there anything that he can find? Maybe a Tri-Beam. Ebb and Flow doesn't hit exactly what he wants, but he can play all 3 parts of the spell.
You ebb, you flow, and then you ebb and flow.
He's got the Spell Thief. He's got the Ebb and Flow. There are ways. There are ways for Xeloo to survive. For this game to not be done yet. Tri-Beam.
Tri-Beam.
Tri-Beam is good. Tri-Beam gives you another blocker, removes an attacker. You can play it on the Sump Dredger.
Here we go. Finishing off the Sump Dredger. Gonna get a 1-drop. Let's see which one it is. And
it's a 2-1. It gave him the Waking Sands.
Charge.
Waking Sands, another blocker. But he also has the Ebb and Flow, and that might just be enough. And his board is so wide and buffed up at this point.
It's incredible. Both players at 6 right here, trying to get that final swing in after that crazy little burn from that trap. Oh my gosh, I'm so hyped. These matches have been so close, it's ridiculous.
It's so intense. We see the Shark Tamer pulls out Short Tooth. The Nami has enough HP, and there's nothing in Alan's hand. Xeloo can block with impunity. Only takes the 1. He's down to 5. There's no burn that can be top decked. And because he was able to hit that Treasure Seeker, he's going to have an extra unit to go wide with, an extra spell to play, extra buffs. He can take control of the board. The trade downs go in the favor of him, and another get excited. It's unplayable. The Burblefish to go over the top with spells to play.
And Burblefish gets a Spell Thief.
Spell Thief, he can find burn. It can just be enough elusive. Oh, but the portal to block. He can find a way to remove it, though.
He could get the Tri-Beam again.
Tri-Beam to spread the board even wider. He snap-picked. He snap-picked to get excited. Waking Sands, he's wide enough. Alan can't find the blockers. Xeloo's gonna be able to attack in. And even if he doesn't get enough damage on just the swing, he will have it with the get excited. Xeloo.
Each of these units is doing at least 4. 2 of them are getting through. That's lethal just with the attackers. Never mind that there is burn to the face that Xeloo has stolen here. And Xeloo getting the win for Chile in the first round.
Vamos, Xeloo! Felicidades on the win in the first game. Xeloo going to pick it up over AlanZQ in such an intense match. The trap almost being a heartbreaker as that flash bomb puts the 1 damage in for the Scorched Earth. Almost pulling the game back, but Xeloo hangs on.
Oh my gosh.
Absolute
wow.
banger.
Another close one to kick off day 2. If this is any indication of what the rest of the matches today are going to look like, I'm so hype. I mean, I feel like, Amy, you put it beautifully that this is just a great way to kick off the day. So I'm pretty excited about what we're going to see next. And we may as well go ahead and try to get to that next match. Casanova, thank you so much for getting the first match underway.